on, y'all? We're just letting all the notifications go out and give everyone a chance to come in. Andy, as always, first in the chat both days. Most of y'all probably saw that this stream was scheduled accidentally yesterday. But we are back. We're hanging out. Oh, on the other computer, I got some new memes to inject. I took a couple screenshots during the trivia. Let me know if y'all were in that trivia and that New Year's Eve go around, because that was fun. Someone drank too much and doesn't want to admit it. I need to really make a sign that says Frank doesn't need to be drunk on YouTube again, and bring it down with me to the Galveston beach. We are 1 minute past, so let's go ahead and kick this off. Mic down. Oh, the mic's moved. Oh, I just got it. There we go. What is going on, y'all? I'm Frank, KG5AHJ, and welcome to my live stream. We got a special guest coming up, but before we get to that, you know what's coming up. Play that awesome intro video. I got to do it one hand because I hit it this way. You can help support the channel by Patreon or YouTube memberships. Links in the description below. And a thank you to all my supporters. Go forth and conquer. Hey! Happy New Year to everyone. And this is the last open bottle of whiskey in the house. I'll just go ahead and finish off at the top of the hour. What is going on, y'all? That was the last of that New Year's Eve bottle. I poured whatever I had in the glass back because I drank too much at the end, and I realized that really. Oh, that did not need to be playing. Sorry there. I realized that like 40 minutes into it, I almost went through a half a bottle of whiskey. Ouch. And by the end, I did go through more than half a bottle of whiskey. So sorry. I apologize. We'll probably talk about that later more in Jason's stream. But howdy, y'all. Let's just run through my little bullet points here real fast. Thank you to all my Patreons who support this podcast. I can't do this without you, and support me and the channel, both Patreon and my YouTuber memberships out there. Thank you. Buy Me a Beer is still active. The link is in the description below. And Gigaparts has a special 5% off for us. Enter Tank Radio at checkout on select items, and you get 5% off, and a little comes to me. Philip, I see you. What is going on? Hey, I can click the pop-up. Yeah, look at that. And finally, coins are on sale right now on Jason's hamradio2.com. I think that's the link, or just Grapevine Amateur Radio. My coins are being sold. And what is this I got on? What? A new hoodie? They're finally being made. There was a little bit of supply issue, but they're there. Go ahead and get Tank Radio printed on the arm. You got an awesome logo on right here, and it's zip up. Look at that. Look how easy it comes off. And as I rip off my mic, but it's a little warm right now. Sam, what is going on, man? Sam, my man. Feels much better. And now I want the music to be playing. Hopefully it's playing. Let's see if I can do this right. Coming on, Dennis. Dennis is a brilliant podcaster, expert interviewer, and CW wizard. He is CEO of Denko and makes all his batteries in-house. He's an avid hiker, and let's go ahead and catch up with Dennis. What is going on? I gotta find the right transition. And hey, Dennis, how you doing, man? Doing all right? Go ahead and say hi again one more time.
How's it going?
There we go. We're not dancing for coins. We're just dancing to dance.
How's it going, Tank? Thanks for
Doing
having me on today.
doing all right, man. I spent about 30 minutes or so going through YouTube's library, see if I could find that song. If I did, I was gonna be playing it. But I had a feeling that it might be on your what's your audio that you keep pulling your library from? Starts with an S. You keep
SoundCloud?
sound yeah,
No,
maybe SoundCloud?
no,
No, no,
I don't
no.
have a SoundCloud that
Oh.
is ham related.
It escaped me. Escaped me. But anyways, it's like Pandora, but the other service.
Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah, I had a feeling it might
Yes,
be on
yes.
Spotify. I don't have anything about Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um.
Well, anyway, thanks for having me on, and it's been a lovely Sunday here in California after a huge storm that we had overnight.
Oh wow, what happened?
Um, I don't know, man. It's like everyone was freaking out about the midweek with Wednesday's storm,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a lot of wind, but nothing much happened Wednesday and Thursday. And then so everyone calmed down, thought everything was cool again. And then suddenly it starts picking up yesterday night. And I'm like, this sounds worse. And then the power goes out. And I was like, okay, this is pretty serious. The power blipped like 6 times and then it finally just went out. And it was out for several hours, but all during that time I could just hear stuff falling in my backyard, and I'm like, I'm not going out there to see what that was, but that sounded bad. Went out there this morning, and yeah, my backyard is trashed. It's like I had a
Ooh.
massive party.
Ooh.
It's there's stuff everywhere, mostly leaves and craziness. And I hear that it's going to pick up again right around midnight tonight.
Ooh.
So
So
getting
round
ready for
two.
another one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Um, yeah, just making sure all the pets are secure, making sure that we've battened down all the antenna masts, and the stuff that fell yesterday is now on the ground, so it won't go anywhere else. And
Well, that's when new
yeah,
stuff falls.
but
I know
that's
that
kind of
being
my
in
jam,
Texas.
you know. That's I always tweet and talk about emergency preparedness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of my I had a full actual test of that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
um, the funny thing is I got all this stuff that's ready to run my network in case the power goes out, so that I can still have like access to the internet and be able to send out, messages to people, chat with people, whatever. um, and then my internet goes out last night, and so I was just like on 2 bars of cellular, piping everything that I had in through the hotspot of my phone. And just even like posting a picture
Mm-hmm.
was next to impossible. It would take like 10 minutes to post a single picture. So I was just like, all right, so this is the real world scenario right here. This
Yeah.
is like no power, no broadband. I could basically text, and that's it.
Well,
And
that's yeah. So that's just like when we did that one, like it was a choice, the Texas snowstorm, where
oh
we
yeah,
came in and we lost power. I lost power for 3 days, and it just
wow.
showed me how dependent I was. Oh, my camera moved. Sorry, y'all. How dependent I was on power, especially with sleeping. I think everything else I was fine, but I had to sleep with a CPAP machine. It's not a secret. It was hard for me, even when filming those first videos, building my battery backup system, because I'm surprisingly shy and private about some things. It doesn't
Hmm.
seem it, but yeah, it took me a while to put that on camera, and I loved how that series came out. But now I am prepared for losing power, and I used it a number of times over at the undisclosed dare release Jason has, and
Mhm.
it's just and we're contemplating about using it also when we go to Quartz Fest coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a milk crate battery. Has about 280 amp hours of 12-volt power.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is that? Somewhere around 3 kilowatt hours of
Mm-hmm.
power after you convert it to AC. And um, I turned off like my PC so I wouldn't be wasting power. I was just using a laptop and all that kind of stuff. And then when the internet went out, I was like, well, all I need to really power now is my LED light and my aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this power outage can go on for a week. And so,
You're all
but
set.
I did think about like the fridge. I'm like, if this is going to be a multi-day thing, what am I going to do about the fridge? I do have a small generator and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I had contingency plans going in my head, but yeah, it was an interesting test because the way everything is arranged in my house, it's like very difficult to charge things. Solar is pretty useless in a storm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Extension cords everywhere, so I got to rethink that a little bit, probably get a more whole house type solution
Well, everyone's
going
ready
on.
with solar and batteries. I think it's you, Denko Dan, with all the batteries and the solar and everything to be, just ride that storm out. But that's one part of a lot of people don't think about solar is, well, I'm used like 2 days worth of batteries. On your third day, I need to get everything in charge. But guess what? It's overcast that day, or like us on the beach, foggy all day.
Yes.
Even the forecast said it
Yes.
was supposed to break at 10. It was foggy all day. And you
Terrible.
can't do anything, man. Right now, well, kind of getting ready for y'all interview here or for you coming on. I listened to about 5, 6 different of your the Hamdom Thoughts
Ah,
podcast,
yes. Yeah.
and random things I learned. First guess was Red, Summits on the
Mm-hmm.
Air,
Mm-hmm.
and double guess. People have been on your podcast twice.
Yep.
Red, Mike, and Josh.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So no one 3 times that I found. So I need to get on
um
that double list sometime.
well, yeah, let's get you on the double list.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I was bugging someone about the third. Maybe it was Mike. I
Mhm.
think I was talking to Mike about getting an update, but yeah, I've had. I want to do some round robins as well, like
Mhm.
those multi-guest ones where we just all, basically shoot the shit together,
Mhm.
and
You're
like a
good.
lot
You're
of the
good.
live
We're marked
streams.
explicit.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, it's. I mean, 2023. I would say one of my resolutions is to get back on the Hamden Thoughts track there
Mhm.
and get some regular guests. I have a list, and it includes some names that I haven't even reached out to yet. But I was like, I'd like to get to know that person
Mhm.
better and understand, what they do. Uh, Various like ham radio club officers and go box builders, and revisit a few things with people because there's been a lot of progress in some hams lives that
Or
have been.
revisit some topics because there's updates in some
Yes.
of these fields that
Yes.
what we covered a year ago. It's not obsolete, but hey, there's something groundbreaking and new happened, and we need to talk about that. And
Yes.
that's good. So Handom Thoughts is a great interview show, and I think our interview podcast audio on any podcaster app, I assume. And what got you started on just trying to pull these people and interviewing because it's an amazing podcast and more you need to do more of these. So what got you started?
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Scott here, Ham Radio for Non-Techies, about his mic and his setup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is one of the things, and it's very similar to my journey in ham radio, where the journey is determined by the tools that you acquire.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was tired of the hum in my speakers, my PC speakers, from the little tiny jack that comes out of the PC. There was
Mm-hmm.
this hum that was always there, and I'm like, I don't like this. I want to listen to the pristine audio. I don't want to listen to this whatever this interference is. So I started researching uh, audio interfaces, USB audio interfaces for music, basically. And I ended up with this Rodecaster Pro mixer, and it's marketed as a podcaster's mixing deck. So I had never thought about it. I listened to podcasts, but I had never thought about them prior to that. And so I said, okay, so now I have this podcaster's mixing deck, but I don't have like the mic for it. So I bought this what do we call this again? I can't remember the name. It's
Boom.
The Rode Procaster.
Procaster. So we have the Rodecaster mixer, Procaster mic. Okay. There's also the Broadcaster. That's where I always get confused. But So I had these two things, and I was like, why don't I start a podcast? I mean, I have the gear for it now. What would I talk about in a podcast? And this was right around, what was it? 2021? I want to no, 2020 maybe. It was July of 2021, I think, when the YouTubers bunch was starting to really take off. And I had joined one of the like Jason's or somebody's live streams, and I just said, yeah, I'm starting a podcast. And I kind of put my foot forward before I even had a plan. I just said, yeah, I'm starting this podcast. I put out this one episode where I just talk about digital modes or something like that. And by getting public about it, I kind of kicked my own butt to actually do it.
I'd use that
And then-
strategy. If I talk about it on stream, that means I got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And so after a while, I was like, okay, I don't know what to talk about anymore. I'm just going to ask Charlie Red, Summit RF, if he just wants to talk with me, on this. And I'll ask him about his, what he's doing and how he does SOTA so much. And that guy's a beast. So I was like,
Yes.
I got to learn something from this guy. He's always on a mountain. And I mean, he seems tireless. He's never like heavy breathing like I would be going up a mountain.
I think he
So-
stops and waits. This will be me, not Charlie. This will be me. And I did it last weekend. I stopped and waited, and then I turned on the camera. Then I walked a bit more,
Yes.
and like, this is easy, y'all. I turned on the camera, and then I'm like, all right,
but
here we
even
go.
if I did that, I would not be able to fake it because I'd be drenched in sweat. And I'd just be like completely red, and they'd be like, "What's wrong with you, Dennis?" Even if I wasn't heavy breathing. But yeah, anyway, it took off from there because I was like, I like this. I like being able to banter with people. I like the one-on-one format. I like learning more about people during the interview. It's like I think I know this person, but then over the course of the interview, I discover all these things. Like background and what they really like doing outside of ham radio, or what things outside in their life that heavily influences how they approach ham radio. And so just over time, it just evolved where I just got to meet more and more people. I hung out with the SOTA crowd, even though I don't really SOTA that much. So a lot of the initial interviews was about that. I really look up to that activity. It's like, climbing mountains has always been an ambition of mine. So mixing that with gear, I'm just like, oh, this is the perfect thing to do. And so, and then after that, it evolved, started talking to other hams, other areas, started talking about, preparedness and prepping and, off topics like that. And
I literally thought you'd be doing a lot of more POTAs and SOTAs because it's covered very
Yes.
frequently in your podcast, and you talk about it like you're actively doing it, and your
Yeah, well.
knowledge is just there. Because I asked you beforehand about SOTA and POTA, and you're like, I do it, but I'm not the expert.
Yeah, there's it's funny, it's kind of like expertise by proxy. I just I've interviewed a lot of people who do it a lot, and I got all the gear, and I would be active, but I'm not. So yeah.
Well, you're in California. There's mountains everywhere.
Yes, I know. I don't really have any excuse.
Texas, in DFW, I got to drive 40 minutes south for my first
nice.
park. And that is what we call mountains in Texas. And it doesn't even have a SOTA summit. So
It's
it's
just hills.
flat
Flat.
everywhere.
Nice.
And getting ready to hike outside of Texas while I'm walking around, I used to do this years with my backpack. It's like 40 pounds. I'm like going up and down the one hill. I'm like, I'm ready. And I get to the actual mountain, and 100 feet up, I'm not ready, but I'm still doing this. I was
the
walking
guys that
8 miles a day, and now I'm huffing, and I'm only 0.2 miles into the trail.
The guys that have access to mountains, they build up stamina over time. It's not something you just go climb a
Yep.
$8,000 or $10,000 peak, the first day.
Yeah,
Up to it.
exactly. Yeah.
When I was hiking up mountains, I found on those flat areas, boom, Frank is gone. because
Hmm.
that's what I do around here. But once it starts going up, and then I slow down, and my party's every
Yes.
Frank, come on, come on.
I remember this one SOTA I went with AI6XG Dan. He lives north of me about maybe 30 minutes. Um, so I remember I'm used to like going up to the site and then you just kind of see a nice trail, right? And you see like switchbacks if it's really steep, and then you'll see the peak, right?
Hmm.
He brings us up to this ravine and he just parks on the side of the road, and I'm like, where's the trailhead? And he's like, oh no, we'll start right here. And there's like it's electric or not barbed wire, and there's a break in the barbed wire, like someone ripped it down, and there's just like this kind of like dry creek going up into nothingness. And I was like, how are we getting up there? In my head, I didn't ask this out loud, but I was just this this seems kind of well, first of all, it seems like this is not a trail. This seems like someone's property.
Hmm.
And secondly, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And so I didn't bring any hiking poles, and he asks me, "Here, you want one of mine?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." And within like maybe the first 5 minutes of ascending this steep, dry creek, there were dead leaves everywhere, so it was really slippery every time you stepped. And I was falling over, and I was just like, okay, this is getting pretty steep. I was like, hey, Dan, yeah, maybe I do need one of your hiking poles there. So, that thing saved my life from so
I
many falls.
I haven't understood the convenience of the hiking poles, but I need to try them because I
Yeah.
haven't hiked without hiking poles yet. Um, or I hiked all without hiking poles. I haven't hiked
Yeah,
with
I
them.
thought I was good. I thought I had very good hiking boots on, but yeah, I was top heavy with all the gear I was carrying, and it was very slippery going up. It wasn't wet slippery; it was just leaves. So
Hmm.
you'd always slide in these leaves, and I was just like, nope, I cannot do this. I might as well just crawl up if I'm
Hmm.
gonna try it without this hiking pole. So,
So one question I got from your podcast, which you ask a lot, and I'm going to give it to you, and I do like it. What got
uh oh,
you interested in amateur radio?
you want to talk about like the very beginning or when I got serious about it?
Let's touch on the very beginning, then serious. So
Well, the very beginning, what do we do? I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. So, what do you do in the 80s and 90s? We didn't have the internet. We just went to the mall, right?
play it outside. I had
Just
a
play
creek in the
outside.
backyard. My mom was
Or
yelling every time I was in it.
for me, when I started becoming a teen, it was I'd just go to the mall. I
Hmm.
mean, I had no purpose, but I'd just be there, right? I didn't even have money to go buy a pretzel or anything. I was just walking the mall, right? Um,
That was the
so
thing to do back then, though.
I'd always go to the mall, and I'd always like end up at Radio Shack.
Hmm.
And of course, back then, Radio Shack really was about radio stuff, right? So I saw this. I saw these radios on the shelf, and a bunch of them were CBs, a bunch of them were scanners, and then there was this little subset of radios that I didn't understand what those were. I was just like, "What is that? Is that another kind of scanner, or what is that?" And it was an HTX 202 2-meter handheld, and I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And I was like, "Do you need a business license to use this?" And they're like, "No, but you do need to take a test, and you need to get licensed to use this. It's kind of like a CB, but you need to be licensed to transmit." And I said, "But it doesn't stop you from getting one. You can still listen to what people are doing on it." And so I saved up for it. I think I was working at Pizza Hut at the time or something, and I saved up for one of those things because I was a nerd. I was very interested in this kind of gear. I think I already had a police scanner back then, um, but finally got it. I forget how much it was. I want to say it was like $134 or something like that, but I might be totally off. And I was just fascinated. I was tuning around. I listened to all these repeaters happening all around me, and I was like, wow, okay, I need to do this test. I want to talk on this thing. And yeah, I think it took me several months. I bought Gordon West's technician book,
Hmm.
study guide. And then that was back in 98, I think. And it was on and off studying. And then in 99, I took the test and passed. And then promptly had mic shyness
Oh
for several
no.
years.
Oh no.
So even if I could transmit, I'd kerchunk the repeater, but I never really talked to people.
Well, Mike shyness is a thing in the beginning. I had it too.
Yeah.
What did you do to get over it? Did you join
Yeah.
nets?
I just I would participate in nets. I would just hop in as a visitor and say, my call sign back then was KF6UJS. I was like KF6UJS, checking in as a guest, no affiliations. And they'd always welcome me. And then I'd always hear regulars. I started talking to some of the regulars late night. And then from there, I had ambitions to become a general, but I think at the time there was still a code requirement for general. And that really deterred me because I was like, I don't understand this Morse code stuff. I was playing a cassette tape over and over again to try to learn Morse code, and I couldn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, it was always repeaters. I always have some kind of, I think I had a Yaesu FT60, I think it was, or FT50, one of those early ones. And then I just always have it in the car for emergencies, but I wasn't really very active. And then right around 2017, my uncle, he works in the British Virgin Islands, and they had a massive hurricane back there, and he just disappeared. We didn't know what his status was, and so it really prompted me to get into like emergency communications for real. And so I said, well, people talking long distance, it's not going to work with these handhelds or even mobiles. I need to get my general license for real and learn how to use HF for these kind of things. And so that's the for real part. That's, from, what is it, 1999 to 2017, I was largely inactive on repeaters once in a while. But then once like a real calamity happened to someone I knew, it really kicked me in the butt to get serious about it. And then from there, I discovered all this other stuff you could do with it. Back then, when I got my general and then my extra, the club that I was hanging out with was talking about JT65 and how awesome it was. And so I was like, okay, JT65. And then I realized how long it takes to do an exchange in JT65. And then right around that time, FT8 started coming out. And people are like, oh, did you hear about this new FT8? It only takes 15 seconds, and every time you transmit. And they're like, whoa, that's so fast, And so I spent all this time trying to figure out how to get radios to work with my computer. And that's kind of where it took off for me.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Satellites was my first. Oh, that's so cool! And go off, and I ran with satellites for a while, and only made one contact.
One contact?
One contact.
Yeah.
It was difficult, but I want to pick up satellites again. What is the thing? Given a chance, to go back, would you try to pick up again? For me, it would be satellites.
Yeah, me is the same answer, but a different kind of satellites. I want to do linear ones.
Ooh.
Like I want a sat tracker hooked up to my computer. I want to be able to like follow the path of a satellite and try, some of the modes like SSB or whatever. And actually, rather than this craziness of like everyone just piling into a pass, actually calling CQ on a satellite, right? And I've heard audio of that before, and a few of the hams of the early JerryNet back in like 2018 would share some of their experiences with that. But it sounded really cool to like just track a satellite and then call CQ on it, because there's a lot less people on those linear ones. And so it seems like more of a rag chew type thing.
Well, rag chew for all 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you have the tracking, then it's just easy.
It's like I think I'd need a IC 9700 and then some kind of rotors and
They have
The
some mobile radios actually have sideband 2 meter.
yeah, yeah,
So
and then
that's
probably
what
hook
I'm
up
looking at.
Ham Radio Deluxe because it has a built-in like
Hmm.
rotor control portion in it.
So another question I stole from your interviews: who are your ham radio Elmers and heroes?
Um, well, obviously Josh.
Yeah.
A lot of my Elmers are folks that aren't very active on online. They're more of old school hams.
Hmm.
So people in the clubs, um, like I mean, to some extent, they are more OG about online ham radio than we are. So like one of them is NC6J. His name is Jeff. He's in the Aries group that I'm part of, and he's kind of like my packet guru. The
Hmm.
guy knows so much about. He has his own BBS, and he helped me get the WinLink gateway set up. But um, we do WinLink Wednesdays, or our version of that. It's like a weekly check-in via WinLink, and he's like, I'm not even going to use WinLink Express. I'm going to use Linux. And he figures out how to do that,
Ooh.
and the guy's like, he's next level when it comes to like packet and that kind of old school stuff.
Hmm.
And some of us still have the dream of having the old internet still going over RF.
Which old internet? Are we talking about
We're
Yahoo
talking
internet,
we're
AOL
talking
internet?
BBSs. We're talking like old, 1200 baud packet radio and a mesh of those talking to each other, leaving messages for each other, and having just this redundant network of communications that is
Hmm.
outside of the grid,
You could
right?
probably do that using Arden links. Underlink
That too,
those.
yes. Arden would be a nice one too. Um, that is a little bit harder to do. I would say all you need is a mobile rig and a good, uh, you know, good mast for a 2 meter antenna, and you can be a BBS station for your region. But Arden is more. You need these parabolic dishes. You need to coordinate with your partners, and it's a little harder to get that gigahertz moving around.
Hmm. Um. So did you say who your heroes are, or you were talking a
Yeah.
little bit more
So
Hamless?
Josh,
Okay.
there's a few that come to mind, and let me think. Tech Prepper is one of them.
Hmm.
Um,
I was flattered when I was listening to Josh's interview. Y'all were talking about Gray Man. And Josh mentioned my podcast that I did with, or live stream I did with Anime, where we were talking about anonymity in amateur radio. I'm like,
hmm.
they're talking about me. Josh is talking about me.
I wanted to bring that up. I think I first talked about that with anime,
Hmm.
and but yeah, that's a concept it's hard to like hit that point
Hmm.
within ham radio. It's like ham radio adjacent almost.
Hmm. Well, a little bit. I like this subject. It's fascinating to me. I On one hand, I believe everything should be anonymous, but on the other hand, we have responsibilities to be in this hobby.
Yes.
And Josh nailed it on that podcast, and I talked about it on my stream. Is at some point the FCT database was meant to me, if there is a station out of band and the operator unknowingly is transmitting on it, it help us
Mhm.
tracks that down and self police that. On
Yes.
the other hand, I don't want my address published anywhere. It's 2023 now. Your address, your name, and then you can find the social and everything else. So it is a very, very fine line, and it's hard for me to really weigh in on that. On one hand, everything should be anonymous, and the government should stay out of my business until they come with a warrant. On the other hand, that self-policing aspect is, I think, big
Yeah.
because we want to keep going in this hobby. We don't want regulations coming down on us enforcing it. So let's all be
Mhm.
good radio stewards. Let's mind our bands. Let's be good operators because we don't want them mucking up with the great thing that we have. That's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Yeah. 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 Look at anything that's purely anonymity based, and it's just Wild West. It's just
Hmm.
crazy. Like it's impossible to moderate. It's completely like nuts.
Hmm.
You have people who just troll for the sake of their own enjoyment,
Hmm.
and so there has to be some level of responsibility in there. But then, each of us as individuals can also take steps to, I guess, kind of work within that system.
Hmm.
You know, so a lot of us get PO boxes to register with the FCC when we get our license. A lot of us, we obfuscate our email addresses
Hmm.
and other information. Um, so we just make it harder if you want to stalk, but at the same time, we don't, deceive the government or anything like that about who we are or where we're at.
Hmm.
So fulfill, kind of check the boxes,
Hmm.
fulfill what you can, um, without actually just breaking any laws or doing anything that would raise suspicion or give ham radio a bad name.
I agree.
I don't
So,
know.
what is your current radios you have set up?
Currently, there's quite a few. I have a Alinco. Yeah, I know it's an Alinco 135. That's my gateway. It's a 2 meter radio for my
Hmm.
WinLink gateway. Set on one frequency, and it's been on for somewhere around 400 days now, nonstop.
Really? Even with the
Yeah,
power outages?
yeah. It's all you know me. Come on, Denko. It's battery. It runs on batteries.
Hmm.
So even during the power outages, it was on. Um, and then
Puppy, I just got 5 extra
yeah,
viewers.
just saw a puppy. I have a flex radio. I don't want to be like Kyle and flex too hard, but I do have a flex.
Kyle flexing.
So that's my HF rig. I just power that up anytime. I
Hmm.
actually have it. It's not very well suited to a emergency situation because it's all networked and it has a
Hmm.
lot of like these Wi-Fi controlled. Like it's kind of like Node Red, but a lot simpler than what Kyle does. So
Hmm.
I turn things on and off remotely, and if the power is out, I basically can't use that flex. I have to go to the garage, plug in directly to it with the control head,
Hmm.
and operate it right there at the garage, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just like it's not usable as I have it configured if there's a grid down scenario. Um, in terms of like day to day, I have a FTM 6000M dual band VHF UHF rig for a lot of my Aries insert responsibilities. So that one's fully configured to do digital. And it is also like, if I just go to events and I'm just going to be talking in a repeater, that's super easy as well. So that's in a tech prepper custom bag. So I don't know if you saw those. Have you seen those
No, I don't
on
think I have.
Twitter or any of his videos? Let me get it here. So this is it right here.
Ooh,
So it's just
I like that.
try to get it in camera.
Hmm.
But this was a custom bag that Tech Prepper made, and it has. Don't want to drop it. Has the cage,
Uh-huh.
has the redirected ports for the antenna and the
Uh-huh.
data.
Oh, nice.
And then you'll notice that there's like no wires sticking out of this. Like before, I had it in a bunch of bags that were all piecemealed together.
Uh-huh.
But he has these holes in the bag between the compartments.
Mm-hmm.
So you can string the power to the battery, which is in here. I
Mm-hmm.
also have a sound card in here and a USB cable to hook up to my computer. And yeah, so and the mic is in here too. So if I just like, let me see if I can get it. So if I just want to talk, I don't even have to hook anything up. I just plug in the antenna and start talking.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Very cool.
So
That's what I'm trying to get to with a lot of my sites out of bag, but I had to pull everything out, plug it in, and
yeah,
everything. I've been hesitant to cut holes in it, and then I got the new Gigaparts bag, and I really like that bag.
yep. That's what bags are for, man. Quick deploy. And so Tech Prepper, I think
Mhm.
he's gonna. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's gonna start selling these like face to face at Hamfests
Nice. Nice.
this year. So I wish him much success in his business.
Is there Molly on back that you can just slap that to
Yep.
another
There's
bag?
Molly. I have my own pouch on the
Yes.
Molly here,
Mhm.
and this pouch contains a pen and some other cables, some power pole adapters, various things that I need. And
Is that bag gonna be proprietary, just that radio, or will you? Or are the radios that would fit in there and be a
well,
good
he
fit for it?
he made it for himself. So he made it for 3 specific radios that have a similar form factor, which is the FTM 6000, I think the FT818, I think, and then the FT2980, I think. So they're all Yaesus that he's done him for. So he has all like on his page, he has all these disclaimers like, don't get this bag if, and then there's like 100 radios that you can't use it, right? Because a lot of people want to use this for like an 857 or for a
891.
G90 or an 891 or something like that. And those are just too big for this form factor. They go to like here in terms of like size, right?
Yeah, because it's a long radio.
And so he'd basically have to make a whole new bag just to accommodate that. Plus, he's in partnership with Armalock, these cages.
Mm-hmm.
So these are really solid cages, man. I don't feel bad if I drop this thing because it's all protected.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a really great bag. I was lucky enough to participate with him in some early tests with this, and so I was able to get in his buy me a coffee and snag one of them, and now it's like that's my main rig. It's just grab and go, and all I really need to do is figure out how to hang my Edfong J pole, which is
Mhm.
also in that pouch.
I have
And
a paper clip. Those binding paper clips, the black one you squeeze and the mouth opens. That is perfect. You just reach up, clip it to a tree, and you're done.
yes,
No,
there you
no
go.
string, no cables, no nothing. It's beautiful. I used that for years, and it's still on that
Yeah,
the folding
what
J
I've
pole.
been doing was in a pinch, I have one of these smiley antennas. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but
No.
it's just a telescopic whip with a loading
Mm-hmm.
coil on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think Josh reviewed these too. There's a longer version of this, but these are super compact. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people like to do the those. You just said it too. I already forgot it. That's how senile I am. The those small antennas that you bend in like a
The
circle.
oh the
Loops, F loop.
folding antennas,
No,
the
no, no, they're
the
not the Breeze,
J
but the
pole
other
roll
one.
up.
The anyway, so there's another kind of antenna that is supposed to be compact, and you just kind of tie it in a knot and put it in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this. I favor the whip because I feel like it really is compact. It's like carrying a pen, but then it's a full 2 meter resonant antenna, and it's not as good as some of the other ones you'll get. Signal stick. There we go.
Yeah.
The
Ham
signal
radio has
sticks.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Signal stick. I've always had problems with those getting all bent out of shape. So I don't really like them, but I do like the whips. And so I have maybe half a dozen of these smiley antennas, different sizes that I use with all my, and then of course, convert all of your HTs and mobile rig, well, not mobile rigs, but HTs to BNC.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can swap antennas all you like, and you don't have to worry about wearing out any parts.
I have a signal stick thanks to Steve AFL, and he sent it to me after I got back from the cruise trip. I'm like, I brought my radio to the cruise, and I lost the antenna before I even got on the ship.
Oh boy.
I have a generic, radio pouch, HT radio pouch, and on the old bag it sits right here. And when I'm not using the radio, the antenna sticks right here, and it's like, so I got
Yep.
tired of it, so I
Slapping you in the
unscrewed it
face.
and I slid it down in the pouch, and it's been like that for years. I pull it out, screw it on, use the radio for a while, I unscrew it, and I put it back down in the pouch. And that day, I know I checked it before I left the car. I'm like, yep, put it back down, and I got on the boat. It was gone.
Oh boy.
I was
Yeah.
looking forward to calling CQ on from the ship and in the middle of the ocean, just see if I can get anyone else on the ship. Um, wasn't looking to go far, but um, I was looking forward to it, and it didn't happen. Last question I have though is Denko batteries. I heard you
Okay.
jokingly say you're CEO of Denko. What
Yes. And let me
started?
clarify something.
Yeah.
Because Josh had me on his stream and we talked about how I was the CEO of
Uh huh.
Denko.
Uh huh.
I am not really a CEO.
I wonder
Okay.
where I got.
So
Yeah.
it's a fake company.
Mm-hmm.
I was making these batteries since, I started really getting into portable ham radio and sourced the cells from AliExpress or Alibaba. And I think it was Mike, K8MRD, who just coined the term Denko. Like
Mm-hmm.
he saw so many of the batteries I was making and he just said, oh, Denko's at it again or something like that. And so it kind of stuck. Now, I actually looked up the trademark of
Mm-hmm.
Denko to see if I could actually use that name, and I cannot because it was
Oh.
actually trademarked by, I guess, a franchise of Denny's owners.
Huh.
So it's Denko, like Denny's franchise owners. So yeah.
Mm.
Um, so I mean, I could be AD6DM Denko, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't quite roll off the tongue as nice as Denko. But yeah, anyway, it's a fake company. If you go to denko.ad6dm.net, you will find my fake company website on there where we boast of antibiotics free, GMO free, artisanal bespoke batteries.
Great.
And that it has a gallery of all the ones that I've built so far, different iterations. So every time I go through a build, it was really just like fumbling about. Like even learning how to solder right was not, I learned in the process. I think it was also Mike who told me after seeing one of my first batteries, he's like, "Do you know what flux is? You probably need to learn how to use that." And so I started using flux, and everything looks so much better after that. Then I realized, wait, I don't even need to solder these things. I can actually just spot weld them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a spot welder, and
Denko Batteries LLC. There you go.
yeah, that could work. But Denko needs to be an enterprise. It can't just be batteries, right? So
Well, you can morph an LLC into other things.
um yeah, there's a lot of Denkos. I'm reading the comments, but so the batteries themselves, they had the purpose in mind of being ham radio batteries that, I guess one of the things about them is they all have voltmeters on them. So you could tell at a glance how you're doing. You see how much power you got. It's not necessarily like a capacity meter because that's very hard to tell in a lithium iron phosphate battery, right? It's always like, was it 13.2, 13.2, and then all of a sudden it just dies, right? 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just dies. So it's very hard to gauge how much percent you have left, but at least you could look at the voltage and see, okay, I still got enough juice. And I wanted them to be high amperage because I wanted to use them both with QRP rigs and QRO rigs. I didn't want to like have, let's say, a 5 amp hour battery and I could only use 5 amps out of it, right? I wanted it to power my 857, which needed 22 amps, right? And so no matter how short of that time, I still wanted to be able to do it. So I couldn't find a battery that had those specs. Now I know that Bioenno could do that, but they're conservative in their spec sheet, so you don't like burn out your batteries by overdrawing and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, I'm just gonna make my own. Like I'm gonna get cells that can do massive amounts of amperage and slap my own BMS on it, put a voltmeter on it, wrap it in PVC shrink wrap to make it look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be my battery. Because prior to that, I was carrying around sealed lead acid batteries. So I had a 7 amp hour like small motorcycle battery that I would bring on all my portable stuff. And that thing's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the fact that I got to always make like power pole cables for all of these SLAs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I made my own batteries, I made sure they all had power poles. Started adding other things to them, like USB ports, so I could charge my phone while I was playing radio. And
Need to
yeah, it just
make
kind
a
of took
new
off from there.
USB-C.
Yeah,
Or
and now it has to be USB-C for charging your various devices and
the
MacBook or whatever you have.
XPS. Nothing charges my Dell XPS in the field right now.
Yeah, needs to be
that
the PD spec. So there's all these little components, and so that was my foray into build your own. Because all these hams started building their own antennas, building their own keys, building their own whatever. Like
and
I know
Mike's now
someone,
big geeks.
yeah.
Battery boxes.
And my thing was everything else, I'm cool with the commercial version, but I haven't found a battery I like yet. So I'm gonna build my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that took off from. And a lot of people, they also like the concept, the design. They keep bugging me, when are you going to sell these? And I kind of feel like there's just way too much, like it's a slow process. I can't just pump these out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I lined up kind of like what Mike did, I guess, is line up a bunch of parts and just do like the assembly line style. I could maybe knock out like 10 of them in a row. But batteries are also heavy, so they're not a fun thing to ship if you sell them. And they're also flammable, so they're not a fun thing in terms of liability.
Nope.
So, all of that. That's why I build them at my own risk, but I really don't feel like it's something that will really become a business for real for me.
Really ran out all the questions and notes I had. We can just kick back. We got the last 8 minutes here. I
Okay.
know you were showing off your whiskey collection behind you, and
yes.
you know what a kind of connoisseur I am. What do you got on top real fast?
So I got an EJ Curly up there, a High West Rye, double rye.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, which you can't really see, is I got Old Granddad Bonded. I have a yeah, is that Waterford Reserve? Double Oak.
Ooh.
I have a Chicken Cock Rye.
Mm-hmm.
Jefferson's Ocean Voyage 22.
Mm-hmm.
And Angel's Envy Rye, which tastes just like maple syrup to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it really that sweet?
It just has that very strong maple syrup flavor. It's not sweet, but it's just a very strong, like, I feel like I'm in Canada when I drink it.
Mm-hmm. Next stream, I'm toying with the idea. Jason was doing super chats for drinks of that pickle beer my dad bought me for my birthday, habanero bourbon. So I might limit to 4 per stream. Taking a shot of habanero bourbon, but I respect you too much. I didn't want to be slamming shots. I love this interview. I did not want to be like, it's shot time. Get the air horn out.
Man, if you started, I would have started. So this would have been an entirely different stream, I think.
Oh, I love this. I love this. Well, you know what? Next time we will be cutting up and having fun.
But yeah, let's get you on the books, Tank, for a follow-up Hamdom Thoughts. Talk about some of the things you've been working on.
And that guy too down there.
Yes. Scott, I need to have you on. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you.
So, yeah, not yet. Tonight's the closest we've come to one so far.
Yeah. But yeah, I've watched you on a lot of the streams. You join in, and I love your guitar collection.
Thank you.
And he has a new cooking channel that is amazing. I'm always looking forward to those new videos.
It's getting there.
Yes.
But the one thing that really blew my socks off one time when you were on a stream is when you talked about those fountain pens you were making.
Oh yeah.
Oh, where is it?
That's something else.
I mean, these?
Yes. Beautiful.
He gave me green.
Yes.
Jason's trying to goat me already. Make it a super chat, and I'll go downstairs and get the bottle.
And this stream's going for 2 hours after that, huh?
Oh
Right.
no! Well, if we start, it'll be a 9-hour marathon like Mike had. Let's go around the room here real fast. Scott, I'm gonna give you the first go. Where can we find you? Sorry, we weren't talking to you too much. So I always appreciate you having on.
Oh, that's fine, man. You know, the spotlight's on Dennis tonight, so
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine.
I gotta
Yeah, you can
find my.
find.
Hold on.
Yep, yep, yep.
I am so out of practice. I'm sorry.
I gotta get
Where?
a spotlight first.
Yeah, video special. What blah 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 blah. I'm just clicking through everything side by side, side by side. Primary, secondary, primary. There you are.
There we go. All right. So yeah, I'm Ham Radio for Non-Techies. You can find me on YouTube under HR4NT, or you can go to hamradio4nontechies.com. Also on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey. I'm freaking everywhere. And probably be opening up a couple more social media things this year. Also find me on Patreon and things like that. Got a couple new things coming up this year. Going to get some new aspects of Ham Radio that I've never really delved into. And I'm going to start doing some videos on that stuff, get you guys up to date on that, and just kind of explain things to you if you want to get into these crazy topics that I'm going to be exploring, and we'll just go from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I always appreciate you having on. I think co-hosting is the way to go for live streams, and thank you for making yourself available, man. I appreciate it. Dennis, my man, I'm giving you the full screen. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you and learn more about you and your channel and your podcast, or what else you want to shout out there.
All right. Well, my name is Dennis Ad6DM, and you can find my podcast on anchor.fm/Ad6DM. And that's called Hamdom Thoughts, which is kind of a play of words on random thoughts, but with a ham-centric look to it. Looking to get my guest list all lined up. Got a few people that I've been talking to already to do some cool conversations about various topics. And I have a feeling it's going to kind of do a tangential kind of run from just purely ham radio talk, because we've talked about a lot of topics already. So yeah, looking forward to 2023 and how things play out. And hopefully for the stream today, my audio was good.
Yeah, your audio was perfect. The crackling and popping was pure in my headphones. When I reseated it, it was fine. And of course, where is me? I am. Clicked it too many times. Tank Ready, y'all. Thank you for hanging out, swinging by. I appreciate all of y'all out there in the YouTube worlds. And just for this will be made available in audio podcast form. Go ahead and check it out. Search for Tank Radio in any podcaster app that you have. Coins are on sale at Grapevine Amateur Radio. Just go ahead and search it. And the new hoodies, which fell behind me, finally got here in stock. Nice green Tank Radio on the side. Your support is amazing. I appreciate it. I just spent so much money coming up already in January for Quartz Fest and all the other things that we're talking about. We're going to have so much a fun time. So if you have a chance to go ahead and meet us at any convention and any of the meetups and any of the come POTAs with us, Jason's going to do. If I can be available, I'll be available in there. I think that's about it. Ed, welcome. I see you in the chat, and I think that's all I got, y'all.
Do you have a link for Jason's stream next?
When I click end, everyone in there is going to go jump right over there.
Oh, that's cool.
Excellent.
Hopefully.
Well, thank you, Tank. Thank you for having me on, and really appreciate your stream and just how positive and upbeat you are all the time.
Upbeat.
You're a great personality for ham radio. I am so glad that you're part of the community.
Hey, Noel finally found us. I was teasing him in Jason's chat. Thank you all for coming on. I appreciate it. I love the kind words. And 73
guys.
Bye.
You can help support the channel by Patreon or YouTube memberships. Links in the description below. and a thank you to all my supporters. Go forth and conquer.